Hi, this is Brooks with Character Design Forge. This video is not meant to be a comprehensive study of color theory or rendering, but instead a way to render your art in a more interesting way. When it comes to lighting and shading artwork, especially digitally, you may be used to lighting with a white color and shading with a black one, like I'm demonstrating here, and then perhaps reducing the opacity over the original color. But I'd like to show you an alternative way to add light and shadow that will be more interesting and likely make for better artwork. This method employs complementary colors as your light and shadow. As you might already know, colors are often divided up as cool colors and warm colors. Blue, green, and purple are the cool colors, and yellow, red, and orange are warm colors. You may also be familiar with the concept of complementary colors. So looking at our primary colors, those are yellow, blue, and red. Our secondary colors are a combination of those primary colors, and those are purple, orange, and green. Complementary colors are opposites of each other. So yellow is a primary color, and purple is a secondary color based on the other two primaries. So we get these as our primary color sets: orange and blue, red and green, purple and yellow. When we think of the color of light in the real world, all of these colors are represented. However, the most natural occurring light is going to be orange or yellow, that warm shade, because that's what our sun gives off. What happens when you look at the shadow of something that's been cast in the sun? Well, our eyes tend to tell us that the shadow is the opposite of the lit spot. In fact, you could even perceive the orange light's shadow as bluish. So what I'm going to do here is use a hue of orange and blue as my light and shadow to render out this Ramsel character. Now, what I did was brought the flats over from the Ramsel character artwork that I've already done, getting rid of the existing lighting and shading. And the work I'm going to do here is just very quick, blocking in the light and shadow. Not a real complex rendering job. If you want to check out the original artwork there to see what I would actually do with a little bit more time and effort put into it. And of course I'm not using straight orange and straight blue. Of course you can use any variation of these hues. What I've done here is use a slightly desaturated orange and blue. Blue light is probably the second most common real-world light that we're familiar with, since that's what's in fluorescent lights, low or moonlight, and a lot of man-made indoor lights. You can similarly create some shadows that are warm or orange in color to contrast the blue light in that situation. Of course, complementary lighting and shading means you can use any two complementary colors. I tend to use purple shadows and yellow light for a soft, dreamlike setting and atmosphere, and you could possibly use the red and green lights and shadows for a kind of alien or dangerous man-made situation. It's really up to you. So you might see now that my shadow color isn't even darker than the flats underneath it, which looks a little strange. But what I'm going to use is a layer blending mode once I've blocked in this shadow called Multiply. And this will darken this color across all of the flats relative to the color that's underneath it. This layer blending mode is available in just about every digital art program, especially Procreate and Clip Studio and Photoshop. When we use black and white, it tends to wash out the actual colors that we're using. It looks flat and boring. And in the real world, most light is not completely white like that. So it almost looks like your subject is in a sterile studio environment. But using complementary colors can add a lot of visual interest and give your art a little bit of life. Now I'm blocking in just a little bit of light, and you'll see me taking the edge off of that upper part of the hat. And for this light, I'm going to make it kind of nice and soft, not too much concentrated in one area. For this light layer, I'm going to use a lighten blending mode called Add, and then simply reduce the opacity on that. This isn't meant to be a rendering tutorial per se, but a few things to keep in mind. I personally tend to shade first and work from dark toward light. Always remember where your light source or light sources are coming from. So depending on the direction your light's coming from, there's generally going to be a shadow on the opposite side of that light. And remember that shading is a great way to show the form of your artwork. So don't just run your shadow along the edge of your art, but almost treat it like you're sculpting out a 3D shape with your shadow. So that's what I'm doing here with this character because there's no line art. I'm using the shadow to sculpt out and define some of the shapes on the character. The same goes for your light. You're actually telling a lot about the material. So if you're having the light color really solid and concentrated in one spot, adding a big specular highlight to it, the surface looks glossy. If it's spread out and a little diffused, that means that it's something softer, like skin or cloth or stone. I hope that by using this technique, you're able to add some realism and interest to your rendering process. That's it for me today. I'm making new videos every week at Character Design Forge. Subscribing on YouTube lets you know when new videos are made available. My course, Learn Character Design at learncharacterdesign.com, is a comprehensive character design curriculum, and a second course that I'm creating right now called Designing Game Characters is coming soon. Both of these courses are available standalone from each other. However, if you are a Learn Character Design student, you'll be receiving Designing Game Characters absolutely free. Head over to learncharacterdesign.com and find out more. Thank you for watching, and have fun creating.